Oh, mic's hot. Okay. Okay, good evening. Here we are, 10th of October. Year's just flying by, isn't it? Special board meeting, special because it's on Tuesday instead of Monday, which is our normal day, but of course yesterday was a holiday. So this is our call to order, and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance at this point, and I'd like to ask our guest, Mr. Parker, to lead the honor.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent job, Tim. Okay, roll call.
President Boyd,
Here?
Vice President Kaczynski,
Here.
Director Griffin,
Here.
Director Ritora,
Here.
Director Sanama.
Here.
Sounds like a full house. Posting of agenda declaration?
The agenda for today's special board meeting was posted on Friday, October 6, 2023.
Thank you for that. Any conflict of interest?
President Boyd,
None.
Vice President Kaczynski,
None.
Director Griffin,
None.
Director Ritora,
None.
Director Sanama.
None. That being said, I must inform you that I am an employee of the federal government. However, any opinion I might express this evening is mine and mine alone, and does not necessarily reflect that of my employer, nor the other members of the board of directors. Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Okay, item 6, public questions on comments regarding closed session. Do we have anybody calling in with a public comment? Do we have any from the floor? Okay, very good. Then at 3:32, we're going to break for closed session. We'll be back probably around 6 o'clock. 4:30, sorry. Did I read that wrong? Yes. 4:32, we need bigger numbers.
He's already switched time. It's not till November.
That's great.
That's a cool one. Look at this picture. This dude is.
Oh, there we go. All right. Okay, we're coming out of closed session at 10 minutes after 6. Jim, do you have something to say?
The board met in closed session. No action was taken that requires disclosure under the Brown Act.
Thank you very much, Jim. Okay, as you guys probably know, we did closed session first. We apologize for running just a little bit late here, but we'll get back on schedule, hopefully. Public questions and comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the board on any matter not on the agenda and over which the board has jurisdiction. However, no action may be taken by the board of directors on any item not appearing on the agenda. Non-agenda speakers are asked to limit their presentations to 5 minutes. Public questions and comments on items listed on the agenda will be accepted at any time the item is brought forward for consideration by the board. When you're recognized by the chairperson, please state your name and address for the record. Do we have any public questions or comments? Any phones? Okay, seeing none. Item 9, current budget committee reports. Consent calendar?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Vote. Oh, any public comment on the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, can we have a vote? Okay. Looks like we passed. Okay, Plant and Equipment Committee. Who's leading this discussion?
I guess that'll be me.
Okay,
So, approval there. I guess we'll start out with the situation we have at hand is that Sierra Sands had requested as-built for the new Richmond school there on Gateway. And they were submitted historical record drawings that we had that showed an existing 12-inch line that I believe extended 800 feet past the point of the blow-off, which is currently where it ends. And Sierra Sands is requesting, I believe, a variance on the cost for the capital and facility fees and distribution fees as well.
okay. Did we have an opinion from within the Plant and Equipment Committee on this, or is this just open for board discussion?
There was no formal opinion from that committee. They wanted the whole board to discuss it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, comments around the board?
Yeah,
Can we-
oh, go ahead.
Can I ask staff to sort of clarify? I think there's multiple pieces of the fees that they're requesting to waive. Can you please, I think it's going to be sort of critical to our discussion for the board to understand the different fees, what they mean, and what could be and could not be waived.
Essentially, there's, the appeal is asking for waiving of 3 different fees. One being the plan check fee. They paid an initial plan check fee. We actually don't anticipate charging another plan check fee. The previous payment covers that. There's a distribution fee, and that is for the water line that's actually in the street that they would be connecting to. They initially were charged that because we thought there was a line in there, a 12-inch line. Because there is no 12-inch line, that distribution fee goes away. So that would not be applied. The third fee is the capital facility fee. This is the fee to buy into the system. It's to cover the increased demand that this connection puts on the system. That one would still be in play. Now with the distribution fee, if the school district does put in that 12-inch line, we can put a covenant on the property on the other side of the street, and anyone in the next 10 years that connects up to that line and pays a distribution fee, that fee can be then passed on to the school district for putting in that line.
But they would share the cost with the
Right,
new potential users.
right.
You
So
said 10 years, is that only?
that's what we've done in the past is 10
Okay.
years. Those are the three fees in discussion.
And the capital
right now.
facility fee would be there regardless, correct? That's a fee we would charge no matter where you're hooking up.
That we charged every single new connection that's
Okay.
buying into the system and the increased demand.
And what would that fee be?
I believe it's approximately $54,000.
Do we have a feel for what the cost of the pipe installation would be?
I'd like to talk, if I could, for a second. It's my feeling that they were provided as-built to design a set of plans with. And so I feel that the school district took an as-built drawing and had a plan designed. And I understand, you know, when those plans got submitted to us, there is a clause on those plans that say, you know, it doesn't constitute any utilities that may be there or whatever. But I feel as a district that if we could help them, they're going to encompass a $250,000 to $300,000 cost to put in an 800-foot mainline extension. So it is my opinion that we should grant them the $55,000 because they're coming out of pocket at least $225,000 more than what they planned on doing because they were told there was a line there when they had these plans drawn. So I feel that we should help them. And if we do help them, I would say that there is no clause that goes for 10 years, that we just waive that fee. And anybody that hooks on in the future, the district gained 800 feet of pipeline, and now we could have new customers, so it's going to benefit the district that way. So anybody else that hooked on, we would get the fee and go that way. So that would be my thoughts, because I feel that we should have a little bit of responsibility there.
Ty, can you go on page 2 of this request that we have in our packet that shows those red line numbers? And go down through each of them and tell me which ones we would collect and which ones we already said we would, you know, we don't need to or already been paid. There's the page 2, you see what I'm talking about? Starting with the plan review, you told me.
Yeah.
We've already collected a plan review, so that one would go away.
That would go away.
Okay.
Inspection fees would go away.
Go away.
The hydrology calculation, that's not ours. I don't.
Okay, so so basically, we're not charging that.
Is that ours? We've already
charged them.
charged
That-
that.
so
So
that's-
that's already done. That's not a new charge. Okay, those are the fees paid to date.
Yeah, those were
Gotcha.
for the existing, what we initially,
Okay.
they were gonna pay for the piping just to do the connection.
Right.
There would be no additional review charge. There'd
Okay.
be, let's see, the inspection charge as well, right? That
So the review charge of 2280,
80,
there'd be no fee there?
the 3420 would not be charged.
And the 220, the 2280 wouldn't be, so the only thing in contention are the capital facility fee and the distribution fee.
The distribution fee would not be paid either.
Okay, so it's only the 54,000.
Correct.
And there's a $99, no, was that, oh, that's the total down there. So basically, that capital facility fee would have been paid anyway, regardless, where the pipeline was or where it wasn't, because that's what it takes to connect to our system.
Correct.
So, you know, if that's all we're charging them, then I can't see not charging that fee, because that's part of who we are in connecting to our system. And I think the fact that the pipeline that, like, they're going to get any, in the next 10 years, everybody connects to it, they will get that money, correct?
The distribution fee paid.
The distribution fee for anybody that connects to the line. So the only thing we're talking about is the $54,000, okay? Because all this other stuff has sort of gone away anyway. Okay.
I'm curious. First of all, it's regretful that we perhaps gave them or did give them some bad information, but were there other options that they would have gone in a different direction had we not given them that information? Or would the final design end up being exactly what they've decided to do?
I mean, if we didn't provide them as-bills, typically you'd go and pothole and verify if there is or isn't an existing line in the ground.
Why didn't they find it during their potholing?
I don't believe they did any potholing until just recently when we were trying to determine if there was a line. I believe
Okay.
that was last month.
I guess my question is, did they, and until we gave them the information that we did did they have alternative options that were cheaper that they could have gone with?
The only, so so to get the whole story, thought the line was there, they designed their plans accordingly. The line's not there. The only other option would be to move their point of connection back by running a line on the school property and going to where the current end of the line is and moving that point of connection. I don't know how much cheaper that would be. It'd be a smaller pipe, but
Good evening, my name is Maurice Macaray. My address, do you need that?
Please.
12109 Serena Road, Lakeside, California. I'm the school district architect for Richmond Elementary School. The alternative to extending the 12-inch line, your 12-inch main line, would have been for us to modify our point of connection from the point that it is now to the end of the existing 12-inch line, which is approximately the 900 feet that we would have to extend. We have 3 service lines to the school. We have fire water, domestic water, and irrigation water that all go there. So we would have to extend those 3 lines all the way down to that point, along with modifying where the point of connection would have been. So in terms of alternative designs, when we first went through the design process, the district asked us to look into every cost that they were going to have over the course of this project and determine from all the utilities, yourselves included, what we would anticipate for that design before they went to the Department of Defense with their final grant proposal and say, this is how much money we want from the Department of Defense. So we talked to all of the utilities we could, found out from the water district, there was an existing 12-inch line that went from Gateway, made a west turn and connected to a subdivision that I forget the name of that's over there to the west. Based on that information, we designed the connection to that point right there, which that was what became the basis of the school district grant to the Department of Defense to pay for what was going to be included for that specific utility. So at this point, having to install that 12-inch line now, that 900 feet of 12-inch line and 2 fire hydrants, that cost now isn't anticipated in the grant compared to just the connection that we still have to make to that 12-inch line. So that the district now has to come out of their money compared to the Department of Defense money to cover that cost. So
I have a comment and then a question. First of all, you were provided drawings, and those drawings state pretty much on there that approval of the plan by the water district does not constitute a representation of the accuracy or location of the existence or non-existence of any underground utility or pipe or structures within the limits of the project. So based on those type of comments that are made on those drawings, don't you typically pothole in any situation to figure out where utilities are at some given point?
at some given point, and that point came after they'd awarded the contract to the contractor to do the work called USA to identify where the water line was.
And
could
they
not
saw
find
one
it.
too?
And they could not find it.
Okay, so you did that after
After the design was completed.
After the design was
After the
complete.
design was approved by the water district.
Okay.
Dave?
To comment to Ron, my point is there's a huge difference in the way when they were supplied as-built drawings from the district. That's not when they got the plans that made that statement. So working as a contractor, I work with plans like that every day on every job that I do. And there's also engineers' estimates on there. But it doesn't mean that it's not gonna be can't be a change order because it says that same statement that these quantities are estimates. But they weren't provided those set of plans. Those plans came long after they were supplied the point of connection point from the district. That was supplied when they went to try to apply to get the grant money. They came and said, here, we need to know the cost. The district told them there was a line running in front of their property that they could tie into. So that makes a huge difference when you're designing a plan. If you can do a tap and put a hot tap on to run a fire hydrant and to run that main line and then put a saddle on instead of having to put in 900 feet of main line, And so I understand where they're at, and I would be challenged in it if I was the contractor, because if you're provided that information by that company, that's what you go by, and that's how you design your project. And then you do have your engineer then make the plans, and those plans do get stamped and approved, and then they got submitted to the district for approval, and then the district approved those plans. So I really don't see a huge issue. They're gonna give us, in essence, $250,000 worth of pipeline now that we're gonna get potential customers from in the future. It's gonna cost the school district an additional 200 grand at least going this way. So that's why I don't feel it's a huge issue to say, okay, we're gonna waive this 55,000 because you're having to spend an additional 225 to 250. That's just my guesstimate. If I was putting in the pipeline, that's where I figured the numbers. I don't know what your guys' number is, but if I was doing that job, it would be between 250 and 275. So that's where my number's coming from.
I'm just not, I have a lot of experience with these kind of things, Chuck, not this particular one, but many. There's many times you do engineering projects, you come up against something that wasn't expected based on information or drawings that you've accumulated. I can see forgiving everything except for the capital facility fee. I think that's the nature of these kind of projects. These happen, and I for one, don't feel very strongly about making a gift of $54,000, even though, in my opinion, it's a non-air. It happened. Things like that do happen in any engineering construction projects. Should have then, maybe they should have cut out the people looking for underground lines before they put the final cost together. I can go through a lot of scenarios. But in my engineering experience, this happens. So I'm for forgiving everything except the $54,000. That's where I stand.
I agree.
David?
Have they, a couple, so our, just for my own understanding, they built a design based on our paperwork that says there was a main line there, which has not, no one has been able to locate. Okay. And they have paid all the other fees already, is that right?
No, the fees paid are that first list of 1,700, 2,500, and 592.
So let me ask the question differently. Is the capital facility fee the only fee that remains outstanding?
Yes.
Okay. And they're going to be constructing a $200,000 pipeline and then handing control of that pipeline over to the water district? Okay. Are there any anticipated issues with that?
No, it's just regular operations and maintenance of the line.
Okay. I'm going
Be straight,
to
Chuck.
think about this for another minute. I have to say I am inclined to waive the capital fee at this point, but I'm open to.
Well, I want to
Other
clarify
arguments.
what Chuck recommended, and that was that if we do that, then we don't put the waiver or whatever you call it, the covenant on the line, and then anybody connects to it, then we collect all the capital fees, facility fees from that.
We always collect, well, most of the time we collect capital facility fees. We would also collect the distribution system fees.
Okay, I'm sorry, distribution fees. So don't issue the waiver, and then any connections we would collect.
Correct.
Okay, that's what you're proposing.
That would be my motion, if I could make a motion for that we waive the capital cost without having a waiver for collected distribution fees by the customer later down the road. It would all just go to the district and would be done.
Okay, I have a couple of comments and questions. It's obviously unfortunate that we didn't provide correct information about the pipe site. It happened a long time ago. I've asked the question and haven't really received a firm answer, but if that line had been installed, it would have been at our expense, right?
Or whoever developed the subdivision,
we would share the
whoever
expense.
did it, yes.
It would have been the contractor's expense, and they would have dedicated it to the district.
They would have
Right, so it's a similar situation that we're looking at now. I'm inclined to support what you're suggesting, Chuck, but It's a good discussion. Did you have any other thoughts or comments, David?
No, I'd like to hear from the public, but that's it.
Can I just ask briefly, Ty? I mean, financially speaking, it doesn't hurt us in any way, is what I'm saying. Is that correct?
It was budgeted, but
It was budgeted, oh, so this was budgeted back when we did our budget, you knew that this was coming through?
yeah.
Okay.
But on the other side, what wasn't budgeted was receiving the dedication for that main line.
That main line.
Okay, that's what I asked. Thank you.
So before we go to a vote and or nomination, I would ask the public if they have any comments. Please identify yourself.
Thank you. April Moore, Superintendent of Sierra Sands, and our offices are on 113 West Felspar. We are a government agency, as you are, serving the public, and we are careful with our budgets, as you are. And so hence the conversation around $54,000 matters to us and to the work that we're doing for students of our community. I appreciate Mr. Kroll working with us, staff, and kind of navigating this process that was unexpected by all of us. Our staff originally approached your staff to say, hey, can you build the line? And it was more of a supply, time, staffing, and all of that. That would have been our plan A. We pay you $54,000 and we connect to the plan that was signed off on. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist, and the staffing and such is what it is. So we're anxious to build, because by the time we found out and had access to Pothole and to do all of the things, that was actually restricted for a while from us. But when we had access to do that and found out actually it's not there, and worked with staff, we're far along in our process, and time is of the essence. So we're willing to do that, to provide it, and it'll be that long-term benefit for the whole community and for yourselves managing that. But we do ask for the waiver that's on the table, and I'm happy to answer any questions. As you saw, we have our architect, we have our assistant superintendent of business, all here, happy to answer any other questions you may have.
So I commend you for coming up with the cost for putting in the new line. That must have taken some extraordinary steps. It's probably not petty cash, right?
Indeed, especially when everything's federal, federal state monies we're managing, but we're dedicated to getting this done and done as close to on time as possible.
Did they find the money because of savings within what was already allocated, or did you have to go back for another request?
We did not have to go back for another request. We are budgeting it, and hopefully we'll be able to make up for it tomorrow for the project.
Okay, thank you.
Just for the people at home, can everyone, when you're speaking, use the microphone? It's okay.
Other comments from the public? Thank you.
Good evening, Judy Decker. I have some questions, Jason. This line is going to go north off of Ridgecrest Boulevard between the last set of duplexes, I believe they are.
There's apartments on Gateway. It'll be on the north side of that.
Okay. Will it be a dead-end line?
It is a dead-end line. It will continue to be a dead-end line. It'll be a longer dead-end line.
Okay. From my point of view, I think the school district should pay the $54,000. I think you've done what you could. I would have thought potholing would have been one of the preliminary things that they did. And that's my opinion. The residents of the valley, those that are in the water district, will pay for it either way, through the school district or through you. But I think it should be through the school district. I agree with the comments that Ron made. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Anybody else from the public? Okay, any final board considerations and thoughts?
I just want to clear up what they're asking. Basically, the fees have already been paid, The plan review, inspection fees and such. What they're asking relief from is any additional review or inspection fees, which we didn't intend to charge anyway. So all we're looking at is forgiving the distribution system fee and the capital facility fee. Is that correct?
The distribution system fee would not be forgiven because it wouldn't be charged because they're putting in the line.
That's right, it wouldn't be charged.
Right. So it's really only the capital facility fee that's on the table.
So the only one that's on the table is the capital facility fee. Okay, thank you.
So one final clarification on the capital fee that we're talking about here. Is this a soft cost, or is there any hard Is this labor? What constitute, how is that money used?
How's that fee calculated?
How is it used?
Or how is it calculated, I guess would be the better way to.
I'd have to go back and look, that looks at the system, how much has been paid, what needs to be paid, future demand. There's a whole bunch of numbers that go into calculation for that fee.
So it's an analysis of, on behalf of the staff?
It's typically done as a separate rate study.
Okay.
Just like we do with our normal rates, there's one for that as well.
All right, thank you.
Can I sum it up saying that is based on a number, how it affects our capital requirements for supporting that line? Okay.
Right.
I just want to make one last comment.
Could I make a comment before you do, Chuck,
Go
please?
ahead, Judy.
Capital facilities fees also pay for future source of supply. And as we all know, that's a big problem. This is going to be a very large school, and it will need a lot of water, not that will be absolutely necessary, of course, to run the facility. But we have a desperate need for additional water that the capital facility fees will pay for. A very strong reason for them to pay the fee.
The only thing I want to state in closing is, I know Ms. Decker mentioned the potholing. This is done on government property, so it's a completely different thing than if we were doing this in town. You can't just go out and say, we're gonna pothole today on the government property. You can have a groundbreaking and start the project, and you still won't have a clear dig permit for weeks after the project is started, because it's not something like in town where you can just say, hey, we need to go pothole these to verify. It does not happen like that through these government projects. So my only reason for wanting to do this, Judy, is because we as a district provided a piece of paper that said, here is the as-built, here's what's in front of your school, design your project this way. And so that's what they were given, and they had no way to verify that, nor could we, unless we went out and said, we're gonna pothole on government property at that point. And so that is my reason for doing this, because we provided something, they had no way to challenge that until after the project was started and they got on grounds is when they could start actually moving dirt through the Navy project. That's the way it works.
With the Navy,
We approved the plan?
Yeah, well, the plan, they designed the plan, and they just submit them to the water district to say, can you stamp this? And it's approved.
would the Navy allow them to come out there and do not the underground survey, but the above ground survey for utilities like you see on almost every project? Would that be allowed?
At some point, if everything was turned in for that project, but not in the design part of that project, there's no way. I mean, it's just not gonna happen. You guys, many of you have worked on the Navy and know how it works, that you have to go through getting approval, and then once it goes to approval, it has to go to the ROIC office, and then it's sent to
So you're just-
utilities to have all of the
You're
locations.
just doing a surface location, not a,
You
okay.
can't even call USA. The
Yeah.
USA will not even go out on the Navy
Okay.
property.
All right.
So it's different than in town. So that's my whole reasoning, so.
So the costs will be borne by the taxpayer either way.
Right.
I think it's, I know the map said, no guarantees, buyer beware, but in special circumstances, I think that we should consider giving them the waiver with the stipulation that, the usual covenant is not included in this agreement.
Okay, we have a motion?
I make that motion, yes.
Could you make the motion?
I make a motion that we issue the waiver of the capital fee without the covenant of any distribution fees being collected by the customer in the future. It all goes to the district.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Oops, that's loud.
Okay, motion passes. thank you for the discussion and the engagement with us providing all the information we need. Okay, so was that everything on plant and equipment? So we're on to Administrative Executive Committee. What did we do?
I think the biggest thing was this consideration of this letter of support for the solar project.
So there was a brief letter that was submitted of asking for our support for a proposed solar array. There were some details provided somewhere off of Current Road and 395. I'm not sure if it's the property that's been up for sale and off the market, up for sale for the past couple of decades or not. We didn't get those information and details. We were hoping we would have more information to look at tonight.
I do have a little more information. I had a
Okay.
discussion.
Okay, please.
So I did have a discussion with the proponent for this particular item. So apparently in their approval process I assume to receive funding or some such thing, they need a certain number of supportive letters from various places in the community. They were close. They still needed additional. I was told they would call and let us know if they still needed additional letters of support to proceed. The project, as described to me, was a project where they would be putting in solar, and they would offer local community residents the ability to buy power from them at a discounted rate. So it was something like essentially it allowed people in the community, and it was particularly targeted toward residential, to allow them to get something like a 10% discount off their electric bill. So I believe there's some government funding for this type of project. I assume the people who would be getting this break signed some sort of contract, and they instead of paying the normal power provider. So I think what happens is they generate the solar power, they sell it to the company, the electric company at a discount. They pass some portion of that discount along to residential customers who they try to sell this power to locally. And so it because like a large generator selling power to whoever the local utilities at Southern California Edison here, I'm used to PG&E. So they would, and so that's the way it was presented to me. They then go around and send out letters to the community and say, hey, here's a way to save a little bit on your electric bill. I can't validate any of those statements, and only to say that that's what the proponent told me on the phone.
Okay, and they said that they would be getting back with you if they needed our support, or?
I told them we were having this meeting, and so they said if they had, I seemed to think they needed like one or two more letters, and they thought they might have them. They did not contact me, so I assume they still need a letter of support.
Okay. Well, I'm generally supportive of renewable energy in the area, and there are some dead plots of property out there that's close to a distribution system on Current Road. So to me, it looks plausible, but lacking any real details on, other than I think they gave us an estimate of so many megawatts of power, but not a whole lot of detail on exactly where it's going to be and other things. I think it'd be prudent for us to have more information before we actually came up with a decision. But thoughts from others?
From an engineering standpoint, as usual with me, that I don't have a problem with renewable energy projects. Number one is I thought the original project there had a problem because the transmission lines weren't sized well enough to handle the power.
If they wanted to leave the valley.
Yeah. Well, in any case, the other one wasn't either. So there's an issue with transmission lines. I don't know if they've solved with SC. Maybe they have. The second, so from an engineering standpoint and a community person, yes, this is great for the community. I think power will be available. From a water standpoint, that's an important issue. During the building phase, during the cleaning phase, which we know doesn't take a lot of water, but it does take some. So should the water district be putting their stamp of approval on something where we don't even know water requirements of? And it may be something we want to see. And if so, since it isn't really in the district's boundaries, maybe it should be the GA that they should be getting a letter from of approval. That's my opinion.
Yeah, good point.
Am I correct that both the hospital and the Economic Development Committee have already sent in letters?
I believe that's correct. I reviewed a list. I don't have it in front of me right now, but there were several letters from entities like the Chamber of Commerce. They were the ones who actually put me in touch with these people. They were active. The Chamber of Commerce folks were pretty supportive of us. I think there was Chamber of Commerce and several other entities around the city that had already provided letters of support, yes. And I think it's important to say, we're not endorsing it's hard to say, like, what are we doing? We say we support the project, so I'm not sure it's like an approval of the project as much as showing some level, the way it was described to me, it was a level of community support for that type of project or that particular project. So it's.
May I ask, is this only for residential benefit?
I asked them if we could get a 10% break on our electric bill, and they said no. And so they did, and they did say that it was
Same thing would
for.
apply probably to the
was-
Navy.
It was generally said, they said that no, it was not targeted for commercial or industrial or the Navy. It was really targeted towards residential users.
Okay, so then the hospital wouldn't benefit either?
I don't believe so.
Not directly.
I only want to make a statement that I would abstain if I was asked to vote on this, because I could potentially have a family member, I know that has property that it is doing a solar project, so I would want to make sure I was not involved in that vote. Fair enough.
I am generally speaking supportive of solar. I mean, I'm all for it, but it does seem like maybe if we had some more detail, that would be beneficial. Although I don't think that our involvement one way or the other is going to matter all that much either. They're just looking for community advocacy, I think, and for sure, I am an advocate for solar energy.
David? So it's just a letter that says, hey, great idea. Right, so Mike, I think that's not a problem, as has been said before. Solar energy, renewables in the valley are a good idea. It is outside of our jurisdiction, though, and that's where I have a hangup. The college serves the whole valley and more. The hospital serves the region. We have a very finite boundary, and they're outside our boundary. I don't oppose the idea, but I don't see that we have any business sticking our nose into it.
So maybe, as Ron suggested, maybe pointing them towards the GA.
I think that's a grand idea, yeah. They have. You can recuse yourself there too, Chuck.
Double recuse. Okay, so I'm not hearing a motion or.
Yeah, it just concerns me because, water is a big issue here. There are going to be people that come out and say, just like the last one that was proposed, where are they going to get their water when they build it? How are they going to wet this all down? Are they going to take it from the district? Are they going to take it from the in-your current supply? And then when it's in place, where are they going to get the water to do their yearly washings and such like that? So it will rear that question. There's no doubt. So that's why I still think it should go to the GA. And it's not in.
And given that other solar field that's on Inyakern Road right now, where they went out and plowed and cleared, and it's just been a dust source every time the wind blows, right? And how long is it going to take to develop? And
Yeah, exactly.
And that's another consideration is this going to be a controversial topic in the community? And if there's two sides to it, do you want to be sticking to one when you don't have to?
yeah, good point. Comments from the public?
You know, I'll give them anyway. Solar ain't that great, guys. The panels only last, you'll be lucky if they last 20 years. Then what? Is this the property that is behind, going north from the Chevron station?
We're not real sure. I guess. Oh, so we got additional information, okay.
Is that property?
Of course.
It turns out, as near as my other half could figure out, there is no support, nor was there any offer to the people in Inyokern who live right there, buy it. And this is, I'm glad at least I think what I hear is you're going to not write a letter, and I think that's a good idea. I think, in fact, you should inquire of the county as to just what's going on with that property that is west of your Victor Street, well 30, and all the solar you have there that tonight is going to be pounded by dust. And dust is an issue, and it will be a great issue with abandoned solar fields. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Okay. In just summarizing the discussion, I'm not hearing a strong level of support from across the board as to respond to this, other than perhaps direct these folks to engage with the GA.
That's where I would
for
go with
support.
it.
So,
Yeah.
right.
GA and the county itself even, yeah. Mhm.
All right, so consider it tabled. Indian Wells Valley Groundwater
Excuse
Authority,
me,
sorry?
we had one other,
Another topic? Sorry.
well, we discussed one other thing, I believe, administrative, that we wanted to bring forward, unless it's already on here, George. And that was the discussion for I'm looking for it on the agenda, for increasing the reimbursement to anybody that is furthering their education. I thought that was beyond on here.
I don't see it.
Or did the committee just recommend it go to the staff and you to bring?
that.
Thank you, Ty, for reminding
Thank
me.
you, Ty. Collectively, we remember stuff. Okay, item D, Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Director Griffin.
Yeah, we had our meeting September 13th last month, and there's actually a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and then it looks like open session will be at 11 o'clock. So if you can attend, I urge anybody in the public to attend. Last month's meeting was actually a pretty quick meeting. We did award the contract for the audit services. And then the next item up was the one that we discussed at our meeting, which was the pipeline project funding / request for government funding for the project. And I know we had some discussion here about abstaining and different choices. But as we discussed in the questions that I asked during the meeting, it turned out to me that what they were looking for, and I was assured that it would not be endorsing the pipeline project, that it was not approving a project, that they were going to seek funding from Congress for the pipeline at a 75% rate. And this, if we voted on that's all that we were voting for, was to seek the funding.
That was
So-
versus the 100%, the
Yes,
longer
yes.
approach. Okay.
And so I felt that it was proper for the district to vote to seek funding, to know if there was going to be funding from Congress or not. So I did not want to be looked at as, oh, we didn't even want to look, because I think as a district, we do want to know all of the options if it's available. And I made that choice to vote yes, that I did want to see if Congress would fund it. And at that time, what Speaker McCarthy, if he would support it, because I've said several times, I would like to know how he feels and if he supports it. So this was one way that I think we can get that answer. So I did vote yes. Excuse me, my throat's messed up. Tomorrow's meeting, it looks relatively short. One item that does concern me that's on there is the wastewater. I thought they discussed that and said that that wasn't viable, but it looks like they are looking for a new funding source tomorrow for design. So I'm going to review that more tonight, the best I can, and try to research it and see where we're going to go with that.
So that was, came at you without any advance
Yeah,
notification?
I opened up the package yesterday and I seen recycled water, and
It was
they were
obvious,
looking for funding for it, so, for the design, so I'm gonna
obvious from
study
the
it.
package, it's been worked for a while. It's not something they just dreamt about.
Yeah, it's a pretty good presentation. It looks like Capital Corps is going to make it.
Any thoughts as to why we weren't aware of it. It doesn't sound like the board was aware.
No, I don't know.
It looks, I'm looking at it now, Chuck, I see there's, recommendations from Capital Corps, but I still don't see the staff recommendation on it.
There's not, it just says required, actions required at the end of
Okay.
the report, and I think it says something about authorize to look for $3.9 million in funding.
So you're going to have them, just authorize them to go look for it, is
Yeah,
what it is.
that's what it says. I think that it's additional funding. It would be
Right, yeah.
private funding, not a grant. I think there is a grant, the way I read it, but they're looking for $3.9 million worth of private funding that they want to know how to find that to design.
I'm confused on that one.
I am too,
because
so that's
the
why I'm gonna
last-
study it
last word,
tonight and read it.
Even from Director Peters up there, he basically said, when you asked him, can we pursue this as the water district along with Stetson? He said yes, and the board didn't object to it at all.
No.
So I'm sort of confused on that. Maybe you can get some clarification on why this was done.
Yeah, and that's my opinion, because I did ask that, and Director Peters did say, I have no problem with the district working with Stetson on it, and I do feel personally that if there is a treatment facility, and we're gonna do a deep injection, which is what it states in there, that
Yeah.
the water district should be running it.
And also, the other thing that bothered me, I glanced at it too, was they're talking about a purchase agreement from the city to buy the wastewater.
buy the
I have a real problem with that one.
It calls for a purchase agreement, and then also for an allocation of the wastewater.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that, so
I'm gonna study it tonight.
Yeah, I'll look at it too, and maybe I'll talk to you in the morning for a while about it. Did you have anything else?
No, I just wanted
Because I had
to
a
let you
couple
guys know
questions.
that that's the reason I voted the way I did, because I know several of you had made your opinions about it. Maybe I should abstain, but at that moment, I did not feel, and today I still feel I made the right choice.
Yes, I
Vote yes.
don't have a problem with that. The shallow well mitigation, the one that, I can see it's not on the agenda. That was a
It's
Byerly well.
not. There was a Byerly well that was brought up.
Right.
And what they said at the meeting was the Byerly well, and there was a well that had went dry, and then they said, and we got report of another well went dry. And I said, I don't think we should be making those statements in public until we know what happened with the well. Just because the well is not producing water does not mean the well went dry. The casing could be plugged up or anything. There could be several reasons, so let's don't put a scare out and just automatically say the well went dry.
Which means you have to have the application in, and
Okay,
the
don't have-
application
yeah.
needs to have been reviewed.
Correct. And then what I'm anticipating and hoping for is that we can discuss the PAC's public engagement, where they worked on a new design for these wells.
Yeah.
And the shadow well plan. So I'm hoping that we can get something put in place where we can start looking at a actual program that we can follow. And so the budget is in there tomorrow, and you guys all know I'm not the best with the budget. So I want to make sure that there is money in that budget for PAC though, so I am going to review that and make sure that that's there for the public engagement.
Couple more comments. First of all, Judy, I apologize for missing the PAC meeting. I was otherwise, taken out of it.
Well,
When it
50
comes to the-
lashes was wet spaghetti for you.
I know. Let me finish with my questions. So the Byerly well, first of all, I looked at the location of that well. I think that somebody ought to talk with Peter Brown, because he has that system on there that monitors his well level. He's pretty close to that.
No, 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 no.
Hang on, can I finish? I'd like to finish my comments,
No
please.
public comment in a minute?
Can I finish my comments?
Yeah, but you got the wrong place.
Let me finish my comments. I'm just going by the map I got. I just go by the map I got, where the Byerly well is. And as far as I could see, it's west of Mahan, out in that same sort of general area where David's well is and Peter's well is. And you're telling me it's not, that the map is incorrect. But please let me finish. That's one thing I want to look at. So if it is in fact in that area according to the map that they supplied, then I would actually like to know what Peter's well levels are. And the second thing I had was on and we made the comment during our meeting that when it comes to well mitigation and being paid for shallow wells mitigation, that we got to be very careful as a district that we're not replacing wells that are 40, 50 years old. And I think you know this because you did last time. What would it cost to deepen it? If you have to replace the rest of the well, that shouldn't be on the payers of the fees. And the final one is the budget. The only thing I can bring up about the budget right now is, question needs to be asked, all this money they're borrowing for the replenishment fee to put on the pumping fee to pay their bills, how's that going to be paid back?
That's a good question. You get the gold crown for that one.
Yeah, okay, so now I'm done. It's up to you how you want to handle this.
Other comments?
Yes, I've got one. I found it interesting regarding that loan application for the pipeline. We sent a letter to the GA asking them for some financial data. We got a letter back from their general manager saying that they didn't need to discuss where we were going to get a loan to pay off the money that wasn't going to be in the grant, because all of the money for the capital was going to come from grants. And then it wasn't 2 weeks later when the GA voted to go after a grant that was 75% rather than the 100% that the GA general manager told us they were going to do. So it sounds like the right hand and the left hand aren't talking to each other, which I've always thought that there was some communication issues there regarding who's really controlling what there. So
Have
other
you
than
answered,
that,
have you answered that question yet?
David?
I do, so that's my impression that you're going to get a presentation on the reclamation plant, which the last I heard, they said was infeasible, and they're going to ask you to vote on it in the same meeting.
That's what it appears to me.
Okay.
It just says actions required, and it lists 4 actions. So
We see that at the federal level, where they have a 4,000-page law put in front of them, and they have 2 hours to read it. I think the great quote is, well, we're just going to have to pass it to see what's in it. I think that is inexcusable technique for ramming things through the legislative process. I think that they should present to you tomorrow, and then you should be given at least a month to consider and ask questions, not, hey, look, great idea. What's your vote? And it's just.
The fact that this has been worked on for quite a while to put this package together, and we were completely in the dark.
They had some lead time. This isn't, Stan and I threw it together last night. What do you think? Right? No, this is a terrible way to go about doing business.
I totally agree.
Just looking at the agenda itself, I don't see, the only place it's mentioned is in the Water Resource Manager Report is recycle water, and then under General Manager Report is the report from Capital Corps. So I don't see it as an action item on this, so you may not be asked to take an action. It's in the Capital Corps, it's asking.
just says
it's
actions
asking-
required.
The action's required by them, and they want some kind of approval to continue, I guess.
Yeah, if they're not asking you to vote on it, that's great.
Yeah.
All my objections are retracted.
Okay, thank you for your patience, Judy. Do we have a comment from the public?
Yes, we do. We have several. First of all, the Byerly Well is at the intersection of Welcome Way and Strucker.
Okay.
Do you know where Strucker is?
Yeah,
Okay. You know where Welcome Way is?
yes,
Well, that's where the Byerly residence is.
okay.
The other well that they discussed, that I think the last name was Alpin or something like that. Well, if you take a drive, you see the drill rig sticking up. That's how we discovered where it was. It's on Las Flores, and I'd say it's about a quarter of a mile east of Jack's Ranch Road. For incidental information, it's the house where we bought our 26 Dodge Brothers some years ago.
So the Byerly well is out by, more closely to the Stark well?
Absolutely. It's within spitting distance.
Yeah, so way on the other side of Jack Ranch Road then,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, west of Calvert.
right? Yeah.
Okay. Some of the things I was going to say, I forgot. PAC. Thank you for bringing PAC up, Chuck and Ron. We did finalize, and finally, thanks to John Kersey, got a vote on the 2 pieces of material that the subcommittee put together. And one of them is, in fact, it's not in form. That's the wrong way to say it. It's not a form, but it's a list of what an individual needs to have to present to the GA for looking at their well. It's full of facts. The other document is full of facts too. And I was a little disconcerted. I see that PAC is on the agenda, but I haven't had an opportunity to fully look through the board package. I don't know if you have those two documents in your board package or not.
I haven't got to the bottom, I'll look.
All right. I hope that the board takes your advice, Chuck, and passes them. I have a feeling they will not, because I think the attorneys will want to do things with them, which is unfortunate, because it's a way to expedite a person's application for having their well looked at. It's also important to realize if it expedites it, it will mean it will expedite Stetson's engineers' time. Time equals money.
Charging, right?
And looking at it. And I hope some way that can be conveyed to the rest of the board. Thank you. And we worked on that plan a long time. And I didn't write it all, and I think it's good.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks for your comments, Judy. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tim Parker, consulting hydrogeologist to the Water District. And you may recall, or you may not recall, back in 2017, the district contracted to have the basin flown with airborne electromagnetics. It's a geophysical method. And that resulted in the work being incorporated into a pilot project in the Stanford study, which was funded by the state to determine how good a method that was for mapping aquifer structure. The other two pilots confirmed that, and a contract was let to Ramble and SkyTem to conduct statewide surveys of the state's high priority sigma basins. And another thing that happened with that, full disclosure, I'm a employee of Ramble, and I ended up being a licensed geologist on that, later the project director. And I'm very pleased to say that DWR now, as part of the statewide project, is going to be flying again the Indian Wells Valley as part of the regional aquifer mapping project, and that's going to occur in early November. It's currently tentatively scheduled for November 4th or 5th, and it may go into the next week. Still working closely with the Navy regarding access on that, but anyway, it's great to have more information. That information was very useful in better understanding the aquifer system, and I left out the purpose of that. The district has been looking into brackish water for a number of years, and that was the main purpose for the study. But in any case, just wanted to pass that along. Not sure if this was the appropriate time, but thought it was would be useful to add at this point. And if you're interested in the information, just search DWR-AEM on Google it. And the webpage will pop up, and you can learn all kinds of stuff about this.
So
Anyway,
Tim, they're going to be flying in just a couple weeks here?
that's the current plan. Those things can always change, but that's what we understand right now.
Okay, so it'll be the same helicopter with the big thing hanging off the bottom and the people?
That's
Big
right.
mountain, okay,
There's
so
a
watch
big-
for it.
Yeah, there's a
Aliens.
big piece of equipment that's suspended from a helicopter, and it can't fly over houses or it's supposed to stay away from highways for safety reasons. But
Buy your aluminum foil now. Has there been, Tim, has there been any serious inquiries from the technical experts that the GA depends on regarding this technology, specifically Stetson?
not that I'm aware of,
Okay.
but thank you.
Okay, just curious.
It is a good time for me to make my comment about the use of that system. Thanks for bringing it up, Tim. The Sky, Tim, and Ramble. A number of water districts in California have been using that to improve their systems and make quite a difference. Especially this one that I've recently seen that's near Monterey Bay, which is, I don't know if I say this right, the Soquel Creek Water. Soquel. And basically, they had a saltwater intrusion problem that they were able to come up with a solution based on sky temp data. And I just think that it's very important that people recognize that, and it is stated here, today the technology is well recognized and being used across California and the USA. However, it's got its early start in Central California coast. So basically, it's something that started here with support of the state and all of us, and it looks to me like it's working out for anybody who's using it. It's good technology.
Yes, definitely. It's been used internationally. Denmark mapped most of their country. There's lots of work that's been done in the U.S. And actually, DWR is going to be doing some infill over the next few years. The scale, it'll be closer lines, so a little better detail.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your comments and information. Well, you got everything you need, I guess.
I'm gonna get a drink of water if we're good, though.
Yeah, no, I'm good. And I will also try to go through that tonight, Chuck, and give you some comments. Anybody else that wants to engage on that topic, I think Chuck would appreciate as well. Item E, comprehensive adjudication. Council.
Yeah, this will be quick. Just as a reminder, Judge Claster has been appointed as the judge for all purposes for the adjudication. We have a case management conference scheduled for November 2nd. There is also, we had a belief and understanding that there would have been a motion filed and heard on November 3rd. But to date, that motion has not been filed yet, so that's all I'll say on that matter. But November 2nd, there will be a hearing before the judge. And information will be posted on the district's website for those members of the public that might want to follow it.
Okay, thank you very much. Could I ask that that be shared, just that contact information shared with the board as well?
Yes.
We probably have it, but.
Yeah, I was just reminded, because Doug usually sends out, his office does, about when those hearings are.
Yeah, okay.
And how
Oh,
to get
yeah,
them.
it'll be, it's always coordinated and then Lauren always posts it on the website.
Okay,
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. General manager and staff update. Over to our general manager.
Well, how embarrassing. So I've been so busy reading thousands of pages of preliminary design reports and other things that I don't have the water production or new services data at hand. However, I can say that I don't believe we've had any personnel safety incidents because I've been spending a good hour every morning in the shop getting to know the personnel that work here and boots on the ground and they make the magic happen here. And they are fantastic people. I'm enjoying my time with them and hopefully they don't mind my intrusion into their morning routine too much, but I think it's an important part of my role. I also should mention too, I'm going to go step on to number 2, which is public outreach. I will be speaking at the Rotary Club, giving some just basic overview of myself, allowing people to ask questions about my background and some general overviews of our where our water comes from, where it goes to, and sort of the generic overview of the water district. And so that's 11:30, and hope to do some more of those. I think I might be getting the Republican Women's Club here in a couple months, and looking forward to going around the community. I've met a lot of really great people, and I just say in this public meeting, don't be afraid to reach out and talk to me. I've talked to the Navy, I've talked to a ton of people, and I'm starting to get a feel for the valley and the diversity of opinions and the diversity of culture that's here, and I'm really loving my time here, and I think it's a great place.
I don't know how much Don left with you regarding his public outreach, but one of the things that he did every year was had a booth. We were staffed with Lauren and others at the Petroglyph Festival, which I think is coming up in just a couple of weeks. Are we planning on being there? And do we go to the fair? Do we have a booth at the fair, or have we had in the past? Did we?
I don't think we've had one last decade, maybe. It's been a while.
Was there, I
But we
mean,
do go to the Home and Leisure Show. We
Okay.
are at the Home and Leisure Show and the Petroglyph Festival. Those have been proven the biggest public outreaches.
okay.
So, looking forward to doing more of that.
Good, awesome. Yeah, thank you. I know there's a lot of drinking from the fire hose here, so it's going to take a little while for you to get up to, and we can go back and look at the, and look at what the standard briefing that we got from the GM in the past and decide, is this the kind of information that we want to continue, receiving regular updates during these public meetings. And I know you've reached out on that, asked us through different communication portals to say, am I doing the right stuff? Do you guys want more here, less here?
Yeah.
We owe
Well,
you
we'll
some
figure that
feedback.
out. In general, I've tried not to change too much, so I feel like this was just an oversight and delinquency on my part. So forgive me for that one, but like you say, I've been drinking from the fire hose, and I will get back on track for the next meeting.
Okay. So any other comments on the other subcategories under F?
Board workshop. I think we can probably remove that variance for evaporative coolers. Do you agree with me, Ty and Jason? This variance, one that's under the board workshop? I mean, that's pretty much defined by the state, isn't it already?
It is defined. I think we need to look into how it affects the district.
Okay,
so.
all right. What's going to, okay, so we'll leave it there with that. All right.
When is that going to be finalized? Is there a date that they're supposed to be telling us if we get a variance or not?
I think they're still working on the actual language for the variance itself and what it's actually going to be. It's changed a couple of times.
Well, it's been simplified, I believe.
Yeah, it
Because
has.
the original was just beyond,
And I sort of put this in a subset of a regulatory exploration that we're doing with respect to California conservation as a way of life overall, with the reductions in water from 55 all the way down to 42. You and I had some great discussions on that. I've discussed it with my staff. And we're really trying to figure out, where the district is going to be in the future. And I will, publicly say that the district is well postured at this point in time for those regulations. And there's a tremendous amount of credit that goes to the board, the water district itself, the public who have enacted various water saving measures. I don't think we'd be here if we hadn't done a lot of heavy lifting in the past. It's no secret that our population increases, but our water usage continues to go down, particularly on the domestic. And so we really need to thank our customers who are all doing the right thing to help us, achieve conservation goals and to, be ahead of these regulations so we don't have to take too painful measures in the future. But there will be more to come. But that evaporative cooler is a little bit of a subset of that. And we haven't entirely factored it in. We think it will only add to our margin of safety for being in compliance if we get one. So that's a positive.
Thanks for that.
Also, in line with that, if we leave it on there, I think it'll help us look for grants and other sources for replacing evap coolers with AC units, mini splits and stuff, so.
Yeah, it'd be
for
a good
customers, so
tickler for us.
Yeah, we could keep looking that way. I think it would be beneficial
Okay.
for the homeowners, especially if we could switch them over on some type of a grant program.
Okay. And the strategic planning piece, I'll offer my apologies. Life has been pretty complicated for the past few weeks, and it will be through the end of October. So I don't see myself being in a position to really engage on that perhaps until end of November, so.
Let's review the documents and meet in November.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think George probably can use the time too. Right. Before he's already jumped into a lot of new stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, booster tanks and tanks projects. Renee,
Yeah.
Renee typically touches on that, but she's not here.
Yes, I'm filling in today, so I'll start with the tanks. Gateway and C-Zone are both completed. Right now at the college tank, we're waiting for the contractor to come and adjust some rubbers inside the tank between the piping and the struts. So we're trying to get them out here this week to complete that so we can start filling that tank and check that off our list. And then we'll do, after that, we'll do a site walkthrough and the reservoirs will be completed. Next up for the booster, last week we performed the pre-startup with the Pro Caliber, testing the pumps, followed by installing the valves at the suction side, or I'm sorry, discharge side. Starting next week, we're going to be installing our RTUs and our SCADA system. And the CSC will also be performing a re-disinfection of the system as well. And that's all I got for that.
Okay, thanks for the update, and sorry for over-worrying that little joke out. Financial status, Ty?
Okay, through September, so we're a quarter of the way through the fiscal year. We have actual revenues of 3.85 million, which is, we're coming in about 300,000 below budget. On the expenditure side, we're at 3.8 million, which is 700,000 below budget. So currently our net is 28,000 versus a budget net of negative 356,000. So we're doing well. We're going to continue to monitor the first year with the new rate structure. We'll see how it goes, but so far we're doing okay, thanks to staying under budget on the expenditure side.
Good.
Can I ask for a quick update? I think it'd be good for the board. Hate to put you on the spot, but you did an update to the GA on how much we'd be paying for the replenishment fee in the next year. Would you give them sort of an overview of how that calculation went and how much it is?
So taking into account what our usage has been for the current calendar year, and then extrapolating that percentage decrease with the remainder of the year, we're going from, I believe it was 3.1 million budgeted or anticipated paying this year to down to 2.5 million next year. Because there's been a decrease in water usage.
Wow.
I anticipate having a pretty good credit as well going into the next calendar year's GA payments, so.
Because we've been paying, expecting a higher level.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so.
And that was based on sort of the current level of allocation that we believe we have, correct?
Down the 4390.
Okay.
That's good news.
Oh, by the way, George, the actual replenishment fee, what ordinance or whatever it is, actually gave a format for how to compute the funding from year to year and using the last year's pumping for paying or projecting the next year's. So we don't have total leeway in how we do that. We have to go along with the ordinance.
Yeah, I found that interesting. So Ty went above and beyond. I believe the GA came back and asked him to use those predetermined calculations to determine how much was for well mitigation versus what was the other category?
Just the replenishment versus
So there were
shallow
these
well.
two categories, and so he went above and beyond and did that calculation for them as well.
The pumping fee is separate from that, but yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Conservation?
For calendar year 2023, we've received 61 waste reports 61 contacts made, 23 formal warnings issued, and 7 penalties issued.
Okay, thank you. Who's going to lead the discussion on the Unicurn Road transmission line?
I can try.
Thank you, Jason.
District staff met with Cal Muni, and they are actively pursuing USDA grants and low-interest loans. I know that Ty reached out to them today. We haven't heard what the status is as of yet. Staff also met with Underground Solutions to look at the possibility of using fusible PVC and slip lining the pipe. Slip lining means to pull the pipe through the existing pipe that's in the ground. So we would be sliding a 24-inch PVC pipe through the 30-inch CMLC pipe that's out there. Based off the conversations with them, we believe that that would be the most cost-effective way to go. The only concern is the amount of staffing that would be required. There is some level of concern that it would require a good deal of our maintenance operators, and that so we are looking at what the cost would be to contract that out. Most of those things will be weighed before we make a decision.
Do we have
Recommendation.
Do we have an approximate bid from Underground Solutions?
We did an in-house estimate of what it would cost to somewhere around the neighborhood of $5 million to do it that way.
Okay. That's for the full 5.2 mile section?
It's a little less than 4.
A little less than 4?
Okay.
Okay.
So that's where we are right now.
Okay.
Just kind of waiting for money.
So maybe, so have we filled out the paperwork and given it to the
They
state?
are, Ty can speak to it, but I believe they're working with the USDA to see if we can get through the pre-application.
Right, they're trying to see if we would qualify to skip the pre-application, which would cut down the timing considerably from application to funding.
Because Shannon had already, or Ms. Grove had already supported our efforts, so it's not like we're asking for money, it's,
That was a separate issue. The
Yeah.
3 million was separate. We have that.
this is, okay, on top of that.
Right, we're seeing if we can get a USDA grant to cover the full cost of the Inyokern line, then we can move that $3 million from the state to complete the Springer line, and we'd get 2 projects done.
Oh, nice. Okay. Questions?
That's a lot of pipeline to pull, 5 miles.
It would
You
be-
use mules
yeah.
or workhorses to,
Staff.
40 meal
or
team.
staff, yeah. I know.
It takes 5 board members to pull it.
During the plant and equipment committee meeting, we were told that we were going to be told tonight whether or not the well 33 was back online.
Well 33 was brought online on Friday. Staff went out Saturday to check on it. It has a knock, so we took it offline and reached out to Best to come up and look at what's causing the knock.
Okay, thank you.
Like a knock on a door or no?
Knock, knock, or,
So
maybe there's a joke pending.
So it did pass the water sample.
Yeah, everything passed as far as the back T test. It was running well, it was producing, it just has a knock, so.
So I have a question pertaining to that, just so I can have it in my head for numbers. How many acre feet of water did we have to flush through that too? Because we had a problem with that back T.
About 3 acre feet of water.
Oh, okay, and that's at a connection point that's right there with no previous pipeline. So essentially, it cost the district ratepayers $6,000 to flush that line because we had to clean it. So I'm just trying to get an estimate of if potentially in the future with pipelines and flushing projects, how much cost would be associated if there was a problem.
Yeah, that's an accurate estimate. If the district goes over the allocation, then yes, it costs the ratepayers
$6,000 just to flush it because we had a bad sample. Okay, thank you.
Okay, other comments, questions? Okay, thanks, guys. Arsenic treatment facilities.
For the month of September, the plant treated 32,252,000 gallons. Staff is also continuing to work on the media at Plant 1 through the shaker and filtering it out. We will have it back on before the next season starts. And Plant 2, we're probably gonna run it through the end of this month and then probably look at starting to take it offline.
Awesome. Summary of operations?
For the month of September, we had 8 repairs and 35 replacements. No valves returned, leading our grand total for the year at 169. No DES ran 9 times, flushing 66,780 gallons. Finally breaking the 9 million threshold for the total at 9,044,085 gallons.
Thank you very much. Comment?
I'll start, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so board comments and future agenda items.
The board was originally receiving, George, this is for you, we used to get that Monday update, which my opinion was pretty full of a lot of information that was old. I think that Renee redid one roughly the way she did it for Don, which was a simplified version. Do you remember that one that she did? It was Renee or you did it, Jason? I just want to, I think it's important that I would like to see information about the conservation, where are we with what's mandated by the state or what we agreed to, the percentage each month. I think that's important to us. Some basic stuff about these pipelines. I think, there were a lot of things on that report that it was hard to wade through because there was so much on that report. So I'm just looking, George, that maybe you can come up with another simplified report. It's easy to read, gives us some basic information, especially, like water production. I think we used to get the conservation efforts.
We have a report internally, I'm sure that George can.
Yeah, and I just remember that when Don was gone for a great time, either Renee put out a short report or you did. And it was I liked that. That was so much simpler and just go right through it. So something similar to that is what I'm looking for, if the board agrees.
Well, I would just offer, and not to disagree, but I would suggest that maybe the board consider what we'd like to see different and feed that back to George. And then he could take our individual comments and summarize those into something that, because perhaps there is something that, Chuck would be much more interested than I am, but I hate to say I don't want it, but it's if it's a.
Well, and I thought it was interesting last week, and what I would like to see is, I think it was last week or the week before, I think I got an email from actually Jason and one from Renee, and I think even Ty sent an email. And if each one of them could just send an email, hey, this is what we're doing in our department this week, this is what happened, and then they give an overview, and then George writes his report. I don't mind doing that because I know what came from Jason and I can understand it.
Yeah, I just want it short and simple.
Yeah, just short and simple. This is what we did. Hey, we had this happen today.
I think the amount of money we paid to the GA, both for pumping fee and replenishment fee, here's what we paid this month, here's the total we paid year to date. That's interesting stuff, and it's also, when I get questioned about it, hey, how much has the water district paid year to date? Those are simple things that you do anyway. So I'm not asking for that report to be so lengthy like it was. It was pretty hard to wade through a lot of it. And
some of it wasn't being refreshed.
Some of it was being
refreshed. Water.
That's right. Yeah, it was always said the red stuff is new, but everything else will still be there. Yeah. So it's just something to look at. I don't want to be weighted down.
So I think there's a balance there, and one of the things I've encouraged my staff to do is to send information to the board when we'll have meetings, and I think it's important for the board to understand what staff is doing versus where I'm focusing my time. And they're quite competent at these emails, and so a lot of times I'm very encouraging of that so that you guys have a better awareness of where their skill sets lie and where they're spending their time, and that'll give you a better overview of just sort of how the whole district works and who's doing what. So expect the trend of emails from the respective sort of leads of the various departments to continue to come, and we'll refine that over time, and then I'll figure out what's in my lane. And I've had some good discussions about KPIs and what's good and what's bad and what's really, I like the KPIs that are out there. There's some that I think that might need to be added, and some that can be taken away at some point in time. And I want to make sure we're getting stuff that's really representative of, how do we put this, that tells a story of where we're going. I think I got that from Stan, kind of telling me like, look, if we have a KPI, it should tell a story. We're succeeding, we're failing, we're doing well, we're not doing well, and those things should be sort of reflected as well. So we'll work on that over time, and I don't like doing a lot of changes all at once, but I think this idea of having the staff send reports directly to you guys relevant to the things that they do is a great idea, so you understand their skills.
Okay, and I think it's important, it probably doesn't need to be said, but I'll say it, please don't create a whole bunch of new work for us, right? I mean, hopefully there is stuff there that you can just forward that doesn't require anything other than perhaps a forward.
Do you mean, Mr. President, don't make work for the board, or don't make
No, no,
work
no.
for yourself
No,
on
no.
behalf of the board? All right,
I just
It's
want
work enough for us to read all this stuff, but no,
when we talk,
providing it to us,
when we
just
talk to the
don't spend a
public,
lot
I
of
think
time.
there's basic information that I'd like to know. And like I said, how much replenishment fee? How much water did you use this month or something like that? Or what's our conservation looking like? So I want to be prepared. I want to say, well, yeah, I really don't know the exact number. Let me get back with you. So those are the kind of information which are fairly simple. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's give them some feedback and what's important to us, and then let them figure out how to respond. Any other comments for closing?
Otherwise, I would say thank you to the staff
I'll
and
pitch
George
in
for
on
your
this.
good stuff, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just thanking the staff and
Yep.
George. They're working hard to get a lot of good stuff done.
Absolutely.
So what I liked about the old Monday report was there was a lot of background information if you needed to go back. What I did not like about it was that it was the most recent information was highlighted, and that sometimes didn't change for months. So if I were to make a recommendation, although simplification is certainly better, that only that which is new that week should be highlighted. And if it's not new that week, it goes back to dark text, and if after a month or so it hasn't done anything, it drops off the list.
Copy that.
Okay, that's just my comments.
Fair enough. Stan?
Yeah, in terms of the future agenda items, I didn't hear anything tonight about progress on the water shortage. Is it at the criticality plan or something, water shortage plan that we're gonna vote on well, it's gonna be November now, it's December, but it has to be out 45 days and, before we vote on it in December. So somebody needs to be getting that out if we're still, I don't personally see a need to get it out in December, but if that's the schedule, then we need to be getting that out, I guess. And I didn't hear anything about that tonight.
I'll jump in here because Renee's not here. The one thing that had to occur is that we had to send out 60-day notices that we were working on the water shortage contingency plan. And you send that out to the counties as well as the city, DWR. In any event, those letters have been sent. The status, the draft, I'm not sure what the status is, but I think it's very close to being a final draft. And once we have that, then it'll be posted on the website, and then we'll go through the usual government code posting. So the December date, as I understand it, is not a firm date, as we easily switched it from November to December. But I believe there is a desire to get it taken care of by the end of the year, and there really shouldn't be a problem with that. That's all I know. If anybody else over there knows more than I do, jump in. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Everybody's had their chance to weigh in on the last item. We will close the meeting at 7:37. Thank you very much, staff, GM, Chris. Chris keeps on, every time we come here, Chris looks different.
Yeah.